The day the sky fell, soft ambient sounds of morning birds, distant chatter of a waking city, it was a morning like any other in Hiroshima. The sun rose gently, brushing the rooftops with golden light. Children ran through narrow streets, carrying wooden toys and bundles of school supplies. Street vendors called out, their voices mingling with the clatter of bicycles and the soft hum of trams. Life moved with its usual rhythm, oblivious to the shadow that was about to fall from the sky. In a small apartment near the river, Mr. Tanaka, a middle-aged office worker, sipped his morning tea while reading the newspaper. His wife, Yuko, carefully prepared breakfast, glancing now and then at their youngest daughter, Miyu, who clutched a small wooden doll. Across town, Kenji, a boy of 10, raced toward school with a paper plane in his hand, laughing freely, unaware that the world would soon change forever. On the outskirts of the city, Lieutenant Hara, a soldier recently returned from duty, tightened his uniform, preparing to report to the local headquarters. He glanced toward the horizon, noting the unusual stillness of the morning. Even the birds seemed quieter. A sense of unease pressed on him, though he couldn't name its source. Meanwhile, at the industrial district, factory workers moved efficiently among the machines, unaware of the secret that American intelligence held, a secret that would strike Hiroshima with unimaginable force. Smoke rose gently from chimneys, children played near the riverbanks, and merchants arranged fresh fruits in baskets. Normality thrived, fragile and unsuspecting. At precisely 8:15 a.m., a silver aircraft appeared high above the city. Most looked up in curiosity, squinting at its gleaming body. A few raised questions, but no one could have predicted the horror it carried, and then, without warning, the sky exploded with light, a flash brighter than the sun, searing eyes and hearts alike. Explosion rumble, distant screams, chaotic ambient sounds. Mr. Tanaka's newspaper ignited in his hands before he could drop it. He staggered backward, shielding his face as the walls of his apartment trembled. Yuko grabbed Miyu, pulling her close, her eyes wide with fear. The world had transformed in an instant, streets dissolved into rubble, trees burned like kindling, and the very air itself seemed to boil. Kenji's laughter cut off abruptly as the paper plane slipped from his hands, carried into the bright flash that engulfed the streets. His friends vanished from sight, swallowed by the chaos. The bridge over the river cracked, sending plumes of dust into the sky. For a moment, time itself seemed suspended, a fragile heartbeat between life and the abyss. Lieutenant Hara stumbled among debris, shielding his eyes from the searing light. The familiar city he knew, the streets he had walked 1,000 times, had turned into a wasteland of twisted metal and fire. He called out for civilians, but voices were lost in the roar of destruction. In the factory district, workers tried to flee, some injured, others frozen in disbelief. Machines melted, papers burst into flames, and the scent of burning materials filled the air. Some managed to reach the riverbank, clutching their children, tears streaking through soot and ash. Others were not so fortunate. Amid the chaos, a young nurse named Akiko crawled through the streets to help those trapped under the debris. She found a small boy, no older than Kenji, pinned beneath a beam. His small voice whispered, "Help, please." Akiko lifted him, feeling the weight of the city's suffering pressing down upon her. Meanwhile, in the Tanaka household, Yuko held Miyu tightly, soot and dust coating their clothes. They looked outside and saw neighbors running blindly, some screaming, some silent, their eyes wide in shock. Mr. Tanaka's hands shook as he realized the scale of devastation. This was not a fire, not a bombing raid as they had known. This was something different, something final. Soft heartbeat sound in background, tension building. Lieutenant Hara moved through the streets, gathering survivors. He saw fathers clutching empty hands where children had once been, mothers collapsing beside what remained of their homes. The city was a canvas of despair, but even in the shadows, glimmers of courage appeared. Akiko and other volunteers formed makeshift rescue lines. They pulled people from the rubble, treating burns with whatever supplies remained, carrying the wounded to safer zones. Even as the sky smoked and ash fell like snow, humanity persisted. Kenji wandered dazed, separated from friends and family, soot on his small face. He stumbled upon Mr. Tanaka and Yuko, who pulled him close. "We have to keep moving," Mr. Tanaka said, voice trembling. Together, they navigated the streets, finding pockets of survivors and guiding them toward the riverbank, which had become a gathering point for anyone still alive. Across the city, similar stories unfolded, lives intertwined by tragedy, strangers becoming lifelines for each other. A man helped a woman carry her infant, a soldier shielded a family from falling debris, children huddled together, holding hands against the chaos. In the face of unimaginable destruction, humanity's resilience shone through. Ambient sounds shift to soft, mournful piano with wind. Hours passed. The initial fireball had consumed much of the city, leaving devastation in its wake. Smoke rose endlessly, turning the morning into a twilight of ash and sorrow. Survivors gathered, exhausted, looking at the remnants of homes, streets, and loved ones. Lieutenant Hara sat by a broken wall, holding a young woman who had fainted from shock. Akiko tended to the wounded, her hands trembling but steady. Mr. Tanaka clutched Kenji and Miyu, staring at the horizon, trying to make sense of what had happened. In this silence, a haunting realization settled over them: the lives lost were too many to count, the city they had known was gone, and yet, in the hearts of the survivors, a spark endured. A spark of courage. A spark of hope. A spark of remembrance. Soft choir-like hum fades in, emotional. That evening, as shadows stretched across the ruined city, survivors lit small fires to honor the dead. They placed flowers near the riverbanks, carved makeshift memorials, and whispered names that might otherwise have been forgotten. Among them, Mr. Tanaka whispered Kenji's teacher's name, Akiko whispered the names of children she could not save, Lieutenant Hara murmured the names of comrades who had fought valiantly but would never return home. Across the city, stories merged into a single truth: war had taken everything, yet the human spirit had not broken. From the ashes of Hiroshima, those who survived carried the weight of memory, responsibility, and the unyielding desire for peace. Soft ambient wind, distant bell tolling, days turned into weeks. Aid eventually arrived, and the survivors began the slow, painful work of rebuilding their lives. Yet the memory of that morning, the flash, the roar, the heat, the loss, remained etched into their souls. It was a reminder of both humanity's capacity for destruction and the enduring power of courage, compassion, and resilience. Even as the city was rebuilt, the lessons of that day endured. Children were taught the history of Hiroshima, and the world learned that peace is not merely a word, it is a necessity. Every survivor, every witness, became a living testament to the human cost of war. Soft piano swells, hopeful undertone. The day the sky fell is remembered not only for what was destroyed but for what endured: the will to survive, the acts of bravery by ordinary people, and the quiet, persistent hope that humanity might learn from its mistakes. Lieutenant Hara would tell the story of the soldier who guided families to safety. Akiko would recount the children she saved, and Mr. Tanaka would tell Kenji's story, a reminder that even amidst horror, love and courage remain. And so, Hiroshima became more than a city lost to war. It became a symbol, a warning, a memory, and a promise. A promise that the world must never forget. Final soft piano, wind, distant bells fading, narrator, final lines. On August 6, 1945, the sky fell over Hiroshima. Lives were lost, families were shattered, and a city was torn apart. But in the hearts of those who survived, the lessons endured. Peace is the only strength we have, courage is found in ordinary souls, and hope can rise even from the ashes. Remember Hiroshima. Remember the cost of war. And remember, the future depends on the choices we make today.